Let's do the equivalent of what we did with the HTTP module, but with Express instead. We first need to import Express, and to create a server with Express, we just invoke the imported Express variable as a function. If you read the source code of the Express package, you'll find out that the default export there is just a function. Similar to the HTTP module, we also do a .lesson method on the Express server. I'll read the port from the configuration file this time. We just import config and use config.port in the listen call. The second argument to the Express listen is the success handler, which is just a function. So let's output a line that the Express server is listening on the configured port. Instead of listening to a single request event, an Express server also handles server-side routing for us. So it exposes an API to listen to certain routes. We do a server.get, specify the route we're interested in as the first argument, which is the root / in this case. And the second argument to this .get call is the event handler, which, similar to the HTTP module, receives both a request and a response object. In Express, we can use other methods to send things to the requester. For example, to send a simple string, we can use response.send here. Let's test. Curl HTTP 8080, and we get hello Express. Let's add another route. Similar syntax, this time /about.html. And here we're going to send the about page. Now let's go ahead and test that. Curl /about.html, and we get the about page. Let's also make sure that we can access this on the web. So hello Express /about.html, and about.html is the about page. A web server, however, does not return simple strings like these. It returns the content of a file, like HTML or JS. So let's create a very simple about.html file in here. And I'm going to copy here a simple HTML template for it. And we want this template to be our reply to a requester for the /about.html route. We can simply use the FS core module. I'm going to go ahead and import FS from FS. And inside about.html, the API is read file, the path to the file. Then the callback is going to give us access to the file's data as a buffer. So we can send as a response data.toString. And we can test this by refreshing the about page. We get the HTML file. It's really that simple. But it can actually be simpler. Express has a static middleware that we can use to automatically serve static assets like this about.html file. All we need to do is this magic line. .use is how we put a middleware in the Express middleware stack, and public is where we want our static assets to be hosted on the file system. With this line, we don't need to handle the route for /about.html or even use the FS module. We just need to move about.html to under public. And Express will take care of serving its content to a requester. Restart the server and make sure the about.html is still working. In a production environment, we should manage static assets separately from the node server, as there are much faster options like Nginx. To keep things simple in development though, I'm just going to use the simple Express static middleware. With Express, we can also manage a group of routes in their own module instead of having everything here in server.js. For example, we're going to manage all API requests in this API module index.js. So we import Express here. Then we create a route object by calling the router function on Express. If you're now wondering how come we can invoke Express itself and we can also invoke properties on Express, remember that a function in JavaScript is just an object, so we can attach other properties on that object. This router object is similar to the server object we used before. We can define .get calls on it and handle them in the second argument. This is an API call, so I'll send a JSON response by sending an object here. Finally, to be able to use this router, we need to export it. In the main server.js, we first import this API router, and we can use it just like any other Express middleware. First argument is the route prefix, and the API router is the second argument. To test this, go to /API, and we should see the empty data object we sent in the API module.